You're listening to Barske Studio TrueCrime. The story you're about to hear is just one of many hidden in the shadows of Nordic history, based on true events. No emotions, no bias, just facts.
Welcome back to the deep dive. You know, there are some true crime stories that they stick around. They're massive, tangled up in national history, and even as courts have spoken, you feel like something's still missing.
Absolutely. And the Orderud case in Norway is a textbook example of that.
Definitely. So today, we're diving into this huge Norwegian mystery.
A triple murder back in 1999 at Orderud Case. It completely dominated the media landscape for years.
And the really crucial thing, the bit you need to get your head around from the start, is this legal twist, isn't it?
Exactly. You have 4 people convicted for medvirkning, that's complicity, basically helping make it happen in a premeditated murder. But, and this is the big but, the actual person or people who fired the shots, officially, still unknown.
It's mind-boggling. And this whole saga, stretching over, 25 years now, it just reached a really significant legal point.
Yeah, that's where we're tackling it now. The Commission for the Review of Criminal Cases, they've just had their final say. This past June, actually.
Okay, so what was the verdict from them?
Well, on June 17th, 2024, they formally rejected the petition to reopen the case. Unanimously, too. This was for the convicted couple, Per and Veronica Orderud.
Wow. Unanimous. So that feels pretty final.
It does. So our job today really is to unpack all the pieces. We've got the sources, the evidence, looking at everything from that intense farm feud, which supposedly started it all,
Right.
to these kind of strange, almost cloak and dagger intelligence rumors that popped up later. We need to figure out why the Norwegian legal system has essentially said, okay, chapter closed, even with that massive unanswered question at its heart.
Okay, let's do it. Where do we start? The crime scene itself, the motive.
Let's set the scene first. We need to go back to Pentecost Eve, night of May 22nd, 1999.
Got it.
The place is Orderud Case, this family farm out in Serum.
And the victims.
3 members of the family, Christian and Marie Orderud, the elderly couple who owned the farm, both in their early 80s.
Okay.
And their daughter, Anne Orderud, passed. She was 47. All 3 were found shot inside the main house.
And right away, the police had a theory about why.
Pretty much immediately, yes. The investigation zeroed in on a motive tied directly to the family, the farm itself.
The inheritance dispute.
Exactly. The prosecution's case, which the courts ultimately agreed with, was that this horrific crime stemmed from a really bitter long-running conflict over who would inherit Orderud Case.
So the son, Per Orderud, he was running the farm.
Yeah, he'd been running it for years, expected to take over. But his parents, Christian and Marie, they kept holding on to the ownership, resisting the transfer. That was the core of the feud.
Okay, so on the surface, it sounds like a deeply tragic family conflict, maybe contained to that farm, that community.
It does, but here's where it gets, well, way more complicated and frankly weirder. It links this farm dispute to, like, national security intrigue.
How so?
The daughter, Anne Orderud, had passed. She wasn't just anyone. She held a pretty significant position, personal secretary to the Minister of Defense at the time.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And crucially, she herself had been targeted before, twice, in really quite professional-looking attempts, less than a year before the murders.
Right, I remember reading about this. This is the dynamite, isn't it?
That's the first one, July 1998. Dynamite found strapped right under her car. I mean, that's clearly an assassination attempt, no question.
Terrifying. And it wasn't just a one-off.
No. Just a month later, August 98, another attempt. This time, arson. Someone tried to set fire to her Oslo apartment using a gas canister and gasoline.
Good grief. So 2 serious attempts on her life.
Police treated both as attempted murder. And here's the key link back to the farm. During those earlier investigations, Anne and her parents actually told investigators, even spoke about it publicly. They suspected the motive for those attacks was the farm conflict.
So they believed the farm feud was already escalating to attempted murder, even back then.
That's what they stated, yes. Which makes the eventual triple murder seem less like a sudden explosion of violence.
And more like the culmination of something planned.
Exactly. It suggests a simmering plot escalating from failed attempts, dynamite, arson, very serious stuff, to a successful, brutal triple homicide on the farm itself. Doesn't sound like a spontaneous family argument gone wrong, does it?
No, it points towards planning, maybe outside help, which I guess leads us straight to the people who were eventually convicted.
Precisely. That idea of needing help, needing complicity is central to the convictions.
Okay, let's name them. Who are the four, and how are they connected?
Right, so you had Per Christian Orderud, the son of the elderly victims, brother of Anne.
Okay.
His wife, Veronica Orderud.
Mm-hmm.
Then Veronica's half-sister, a woman named Kristen Kirkemo.
Right.
And finally, Kristen Kirkemo's ex-boyfriend at the time, Lars Grunnerud. So tightly interconnected through family and relationships.
And let's just hammer this home again, because it's so important. None of them were found guilty of actually pulling the trigger.
Absolutely critical point. All four convicted of medvirkning, complicity, assisting, planning, maybe procuring weapons, enabling the crimes somehow.
But not the act itself.
Not the act itself. The courts in Norway decided the circumstantial evidence linking these four to the plot, driven by that farm motive, was strong enough for maximum sentences.
Even without knowing who physically carried out the executions.
Correct. That central question remains unanswered by the courts.
And the sentences themselves.
Yeah.
There was some drama there, too, wasn't there? Between the first trial and the appeal.
Oh, definitely. The legal path was quite turbulent. Initially, in the first trial back in 2001, Per, Veronica, and Kristen Kirkemo all got 21 years, the maximum.
Okay. What about the fourth Grunnerud?
That was the surprise initially. Lars Grunnerud was seen as less involved, maybe. He only got 2.5 years for negligent complicity. Like, he should have known, but maybe wasn't actively plotting.
Only 2.5 years compared to 21 is a huge difference.
It was. But then came the appeal in 2002, and things shifted dramatically, especially for Grunnerud.
How so?
Well, the appeal court upheld the 21 years for Per and Veronica. And crucially, Per also officially lost his inheritance rights to the farm. The very thing motivating the crime, gone.
Right, the motive removed legally.
Kristen Kirkemo's sentence was slightly reduced, down to 16 years, but Lars Grunnerud, his sentence went through the roof.
From 2.5 years to
18 years. 18, a massive increase. The appeal court basically said the first sentence was a major misjudgment, recasting him as a central figure in facilitating a triple murder.
Wow. That's a fundamental reevaluation of his role.
Huge. So eventually, they all served significant time. Kirkemo got out around 2011, Grunnerud in 2013, though he passed away in 2019, and the orders were released in 2015.
But release didn't mean the end of the questions, did it?
Oh.
Which brings us to all the stuff that just never quite added up.
Yeah.
The lingering mysteries.
Exactly. And the way the murders were carried out is a big part of that. The forensic details are, well, chilling.
What stood out?
The professionalism, really. It kind of clashes with the family feud narrative in some ways. They determined 2 different guns were used, a .38 caliber revolver and a .22 pistol, and how they were used. 2 victims, Anne passed, and her father, Christian Orderud, were shot in the neck, execution style, from less than 5 centimeters away.
Wow. That sounds clinical. Not like a crime of passion.
It suggests a very cold-blooded approach, often seen in, professional hits.
And then there was DNA evidence that emerged much, much later, related to those earlier attempts on Anne's life.
Yes, this came up during the push for the latest reopening. In 2023, investigators confirmed something quite startling. Kristen Kirkemo's DNA. It was found on the tape.
What tape?
The tape used back in 1998 to attach the dynamite bundle under Anne Past's car.
Wait. Kirkemo's DNA on the bomb tape. But wasn't she acquitted of involvement in those 1998 attempts?
She was. The appeal court cleared her of those charges, so finding her DNA there years later seemed to suddenly tie her directly to that earlier planning stage, long after she'd been convicted for complicity in the murder itself. It's complicated.
Very. But okay, let's talk about the evidence point that really seemed to frustrate everyone for years, the pine needles. The Barnolsporet.
Yes, the pine needle trail. This is such a classic element of the case's controversy, a real legal knot.
So what was it? Pine needles found? Where?
On one of Kristen Kirkemo's socks and also on a wig found among her things.
Okay. And the significance?
The defense, particularly Per and Veronica's lawyers, argued these needles were potentially crucial. If they could prove, scientifically, that these specific needles came from the woods right around Orderud Gorge,
then it would place Kirkemo, or at least her belongings, near the crime scene around the time of the murders, undermining her alibi.
Exactly. It could potentially link her geographically to the location in a way her alibi didn't account for.
So why wasn't it tested definitively? It seems like a vital piece of potential evidence.
This is where it gets maddening for the defense. For years, the state prosecutor blocked full advanced DNA testing on those needles.
Why? On what grounds?
The official reason given was the risk of evidence destruction. The technology back then wasn't what it is now, and the fear was that the testing process itself might completely consume the tiny, fragile needles.
So, test it and risk losing it forever, whether you get a result or not.
Pretty much. Preserve the evidence but never know for sure. Or test it and risk destroying your only shot at an answer. It was a stalemate that fueled suspicion for years.
You can see why that detail alone would keep doubts alive. And the doubts didn't stop there, did they? There were even these wilder theories involving espionage.
Yeah, this is where the story takes another turn, away from the farm feud entirely. An NRK documentary series, Brennpunkt, floated a theory.
Which was?
It suggested that Anne Orderud Post, remember the minister secretary, and her husband Per Post, who was a diplomat. Maybe they had connections to the Norwegian intelligence service, the E-Tjenesten.
Connections how? Related to?
Possibly linked to the conflict in the Balkans, which was raging around that time. The implication being maybe the motive wasn't the farm at all. Maybe it was related to their professional lives, something they knew or were involved in.
That sounds like a spy novel plot. Is there any substance to it?
Well, here's a documented fact that lends it some weight. The EOS Committee, that's the parliamentary body that oversees Norway's intelligence services, they actually tried to look into this.
Oh.
And according to the sources, they were denied full access to certain e-service files relating to the posts around that period.
Whoa. Okay, so the oversight body was stonewalled on relevant intelligence files. That definitely adds a layer of intrigue.
It certainly does. The courts, however, never really went down that road. They stuck to the farm feud as the established motive. But you can see how that intelligence angle provides an alternative explanation for maybe why the hit seems so professional and why Anne Post was targeted with dynamite initially.
Absolutely. No wonder the media went into overdrive on this case. You've got family betrayal, a farm feud, professional-style killings, contested DNA, blocked evidence, and now potential spy links.
It was a perfect storm for media obsession. The coverage was nonstop, unprecedented in Norway at the time, and the public was deeply divided.
Did that division show itself in other ways?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
There was even an organization formed, the Friends of Per and Veronica, supporters who believed they were innocent.
Really? A support group?
Yes, and they were quite active. In 2004, they put up a reward, 1 million Norwegian kroner, for any information that could lead to a full clarification of the crime. That shows you the level of public doubt and engagement.
So all these questions, the pine needles, the intelligence angle, the unknown killer, they all fed into this final massive attempt to get the case reopened, right? Which ultimately failed just recently.
That's right. The final push was huge. It was led by Tor Sandeberg, who's quite famous in Norway as a private investigator known for helping overturn wrongful convictions.
He put together the petition.
Yes, filed back in 2018. The big juring, the formal request. Apparently, it was over 1,000 pages long, a massive document arguing point by point why the original evidence should be reevaluated or why new evidence cast doubt.
1,000 pages. That's exhaustive.
It really was. And the Commission for the Review of Criminal Cases spent 6 years going through it.
6 years. Before delivering their final answer this June.
June 17th, 2024. The decision came down. Unanimous rejection. No reopening for Per and Veronica Orderud.
And did the commission say anything about the process?
The commission leader made a point of saying this was the most extensive and complex case the review body had ever handled in its history, which really highlights the sheer volume and difficulty of the material they had to grapple with.
So, legally speaking, the book is now firmly closed on the convictions. What about the farm, the property that supposedly started everything? What happened to Orderud?
Well, that's kind of the final irony, isn't it? Because Per lost his inheritance rights in the appeal.
He couldn't just inherit it.
No, he actually had to buy it. In 2004, while still serving his sentence, he secured a bank loan and purchased the farm for 2.9 million kroner.
He bought the farm that was the motive for the crime he was convicted of complicity in.
Effectively, yes.
Yeah.
And after he was released in 2015, he returned to live in the main house on the property. The actual farming, the land use, is leased out to others now, but he lives there, on the land that cost his parents and sister their lives and him decades in prison.
So let's try to sum this up. We've taken this deep dive, and the legal system's conclusion is clear. The convictions for complicity hold. Per, Veronica, Kristen, Lars. The courts maintain they facilitated these murders. The sentences were served. The final appeal to reopen is rejected. Done deal legally.
That's the legal reality now, yes. The door is closed on challenging those complicity verdicts through the official channels.
That massive question mark remains. The actual killer or killers, The person capable of those close-range execution-style shots who knew how to handle dynamite.
Yeah.
Their identity is still, officially at least, a complete unknown, a ghost in this whole story.
Exactly. Lost in the fog of complicity, convictions, and unresolved leads.
So here's the thought to leave you with. The courts established the motive, the farm conflict. They secured convictions based on circumstantial evidence of complicity. In the eyes of the law, justice regarding the accomplices has been served. But does that equate to ultimate justice when the person who actually pulled the triggers might still be out there, unidentified, uncharged? What standard of proof do we need, not just legally, but maybe morally, to feel a case this significant is truly resolved? And now that the Official Review Commission has shut the door so firmly, is there any kind of revelation outside the legal system that could possibly bring the full truth to light? What would that even look like? Something to think about.
Thank you for listening to Barske Studio TrueCrime. The story you've heard is just one of many hidden in the shadows of Nordic history. We release new episodes every week, exploring fresh true stories, from haunting mysteries to chilling crimes. Subscribe and join us next week as we uncover another untold truth. This was Barske Studio TrueCrime, told by AI with no emotion and no filter.